well, Rick Grenell may have stepped down from being DNI, but he's still fighting some battles because people are not happy that he put information out there that they didn't want Americans to see. And we're also going to talk just a little bit about the executive order today that is to help stop the silencing of conservatives on social media. So stick with me, folks, and I'll be with you in a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and wow, Rick Grenell, he was there for such a short time, but boy, did he cause a lot of stir in the deep state. They do not like him, and there's a reason. We're going to talk about a few things here that he's been undergoing on Twitter because they've been really getting after him. And so this one right here, Ben Williamson, says, had someone remarked the other day that ODNI Director Richard Grenell has accomplished more in 3 months than many do in an entire public service career. So true. Worth reading a list. And here's the article from the Daily Caller. It's right here. This is a great list of things that he accomplished in such a short period of time. So he did Americans a great service. If we had a bunch of him in our government, things would be moving like crazy and you would be amazed at what could actually be accomplished. So that was one of them. That was a positive. But boy, he's been getting a lot of negatives out there and things like this. Ex-intelligence boss Richard Grenell rips D.C. swamp Politico Democratic leakers, tells Mark Levin show an outsider coming in with fresh eyes is like the enemy because you're going to look at things differently. Yep, that's for sure. And so there's a little link there you can take if you want to see that one. And then up here, this is Washington Examiner. This is the actual article that was referring to. And, you know, that's what he said, an outsider coming in with fresh eyes. And that's what they don't want because they sure didn't want him declassifying that stuff. Oh, it's too funny. So Eric Swalwell, for some reason, has really been taking offense at what Grenell did. And so there's some back and forths with Swalwell. This is the original post that Eric Swalwell wrote to Richard Grenell. He said, "Thanks for showing up on Twitter. You never once came to brief the Intel Committee. First DNI director who failed to do so." He wasn't the DNI director, though. He was the acting DNI director. So really, he didn't have to do that. If you have nothing to hide, why don't you release Flynn's call with Russia? Okay, and so Grenell says, those are coming. It's very important for the public to see all of them. For too long, the public has been misled. Just compare your committee's transcripts to your public statements. And he put hashtag troubling. Well, Swalwell responded and said, tick-tock. Those are coming. Well, you're no longer director, and the Flynn tapes never came. All you have to show for your work is the dirt on your boots from shoveling and burying evidence for Donald Trump. Show us the tape. Oh, so then it goes on, and he responds and he says, they are coming. It's a thoughtful process to transparency. For years, you went on TV spreading the Russian propaganda, knowing the entire time that not one single person under oath from your committee saw any conclusion. Not one. It's shameful. So then we go on, and of course, Swalwell says the guy who spread Russian propaganda is the one who asked Russia to hack his opponent. It's also the guy who said he believed Putin over the brave intelligence officers you betrayed. That guy is Donald Trump. You chose to enable him. I chose to check him. Listen to this. Swalwell's done something bad. There is no way that he'd be this outraged at Grenell unless there's something that he's trying to protect, or someone. Somewhere along the line, Swalwell is in this up to his eyeballs, I believe. And then Grenell responded to him, you spent tens of millions of taxpayer dollars weaponizing the U.S. government and telling Americans there was massive collusion. Your own committee interviewed more than 50 people under oath, and they all said the same thing. They know of no collusion, but on TV, you said the opposite. And then, of course, we go on, and He said, you said the opposite, knowing what the 50 people said under oath, and yet for years you didn't want their transcripts to be made public. Transparency is required. Americans deserve to see how this hoax developed and who silenced those who raised doubts early on. And then Swalwell comes back and says, weaponized? History lesson. Democrats were in the minority for the Russian investigation. It was a GOP-led investigation that allowed witnesses to not answer questions. And the Mueller investigation came from Donald Trump's appointees. So show us the Flynn tapes or buzz off. I mean, just how arrogant. Of course, you know he's arrogant. Really, when I see Swalwell's posts, all I hear is the fart gate. Yeah. Anyway, Grenell comes back and says, I read the transcripts. There were lots of questions from Democrats. Lots. You just didn't find any collusion when they were under oath. So the transcripts were the only thing you didn't leak to the DC media. Ain't that the truth? They leaked everything else. So Swalwell says, did you read Manafort gave polling data to Russians? Donald Trump lied about Trump Tower Moscow deal during the 2016 primary season. Junior meeting with Russians in Trump Tower. Donald Trump asking Russia to hack Hillary Clinton. Read it again. Yeah, well, you know, the hack Hillary Clinton. No, it was a joke. They cannot laugh. They have no sense of humor whatsoever. Oh, and, you know, all of that. Yeah, we're not even going to deal with that. Let's go on. Richard Grenell comes back and says, oh, I read it all, and you lied about collusion. And Americans who see the facts that you tried to hide are furious. Boy, are we. I can tell you that. Of course, we were furious before because we already knew this is what was going to come out. And so Swalwell comes back and says, this is so comical. The Republicans led the Russia investigation, which ended in March 2018. They chose to not release the transcripts. That's not true. That is not true at all, because they voted to release them, and then they were stopped along the way somewhere, probably, you know, by the Vindman brothers or something like that in the NSC. They were stopped. They should have been released. They were voted to be released, but they didn't get released. They stalled until the Democrats came in, and then, they were never going to be released as long as they were in power, and you had Coates in there doing nothing. So he says, what on earth are you talking about? I'm worried about you. Lay off the Trump Kool-Aid. You've had too much. Grenell comes back and says, I'm talking about how you lied to the American people over and over again. You said publicly you saw lots of Russian collusion, but the many Republicans and Democrats you questioned under oath all said that they saw no collusion. You knew what they said in private. You lied. Oh, he's going after him. That was great. And then, of course, we get Daniel Goldman has to weigh in. Sad to see that Richard Grenell has assumed the same kind of deceptive and deficient logic that Ratcliffe used during impeachment. If any individual fact witness does not or cannot assert a legal conclusion, that does not mean that the legal conclusion cannot be found. And Grenell comes back and says, I'm being deceptive? I'm for transparency. You DC types hide the details from the American people and then go on TV and say something they can't check. It's the DC way, and it usually works until Americans see the details. In other words, the hidden transcripts. Grenell did such a service for us by releasing that stuff. And so Swalwell says, hey, Dan, remember the time Richard Grenell came and briefed Congress and cleared all this up? I don't either. Like his former boss, he's just a tough guy on Twitter. But unlike every DNI before him, never had the nerve to appear before Congress and defend a single thing. Swalwell, very little of him goes an awful long way in my book. I'd have a hard time being civil to that guy. And then Richard Grenell came back and he said, it's time we brief the American people. We are done with the Washington manipulations. Transparency is needed. And then this one, I don't know what this was. This was a tweet deleted. I didn't go back and check it, sorry. But he says, transparency is never partisan. Don't be afraid of it. And I've written for decades outing Russian propaganda on elections around the world. So evidently whatever he said, he ended up deleting it. And so then, I'm telling you, everybody's coming at this guy. And this is all going on the 28th here. You can see it says 12 hours ago. That's because I'm recording this early morning on the 29th. So he says, this Daniel Dresner says, without in any way commenting on the substantive controversy, spare me the UDC types horse poo. You reek of the swamp. It's your home. Quit trying to feign otherwise. I haven't lived in D.C. since 1995. I stayed in D.C. temporarily to do this job. I'm telling you, they're all like coming out of the woodwork to argue with this guy. And this Christopher Mark Theodore says, unfortunately for you, Richard Grenell, truth and facts matter. It's amusing to see you flailing against both. Truth and facts matter. Yeah, like us seeing those transcripts, because everything in the transcripts shows that all these Democrats have been lying all along, and we couldn't fact check them because the facts were in these transcripts that we couldn't see. And the Republicans actually followed the rules and wouldn't talk about them because they're not supposed to. But the Democrats didn't see any reason to follow those rules, and they just went leaking everywhere. Leak, 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 leak. Your currency is jingoism. In a better era, you would never have a job in an administration. Your profession of faith is a sad joke. Your life is a lie. So attacking the people. I hate it when they put those who to follows in there. They're never people I want to follow anyway. So then Swalwell jumps back in again. Is this a real person or a Trump AI account? This started because you said as DNI you'd release the Flynn tapes to prove the Batty Trump conspiracy. You didn't, and you refused to come to Congress. Now that you're gone, it's time to brief the American people. You had your chance. He said, I declassified the ones we had. There's a process. They are coming. And so it says right here, Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany says DOJ is reviewing a trove, I love that word, trove of documents for public release that Richard Grenell declassified before swearing in John Ratcliffe as permanent DNI. And so he sent that to Swalwell, tagged Swalwell in it. And so Swalwell comes, he's such an idiot. This guy has an IQ of like, I don't know, a box of rocks or something. He says process. The call Flynn lied about happened in 2016. It's 2020. You couldn't figure out how to release that? So were you bad at your job? It's not process. It didn't help Trump. I think we're done. Thanks for trying. Yes, there is a process. And unfortunately, there's so many deep state in there that, Obama put his little shadow government in there. So that's what's going on. They were blocking it. And he says, I was there 3 months. I declassified them, along with the transcripts of people under oath, the unmaskings after the election, and a few more things to come. I'm for transparency and letting the American people see the facts. And so this one says, the Michael Flynn Ambassador Kislyak calls that Grenell has declassified are written summaries of the calls, not audio tapes. The summaries are not full transcripts, leaving the reader unable to know what's been left out. Former Trump administration officials tell Josh NBC News. And Richard Grenell says, this isn't true. So where's the fact check on that? You're not going to fact check these. No. Not going to do that. So there he is. That's what he's been doing. And I'll tell you what, he did a lot in the time he was there. And I think he set things up pretty well for Ratcliffe. I don't know exactly what Ratcliffe is going to be doing, but I do know that he was all for transparency and trying to get these documents out there because he witnessed what was going on. He was in there when they were doing these transcripts and the testimony, and he heard what they said, and then he heard what the Democrats ran out and told the media. And they couldn't say anything about it because the Republicans actually followed the rules and didn't leak things. But, that's how it goes. So anyway, this is Rick Grenell, and I'm going to kind of miss him. But there's a whole other thread. I mean, earlier on, I saw this one where somebody was saying that he is now going to become a senior strategist in the Trump campaign or something like that. And he said, this is not true. So he did about the same thing on that. He was trying to do the right thing, and they're jumping all over him. So you know he's over the target. They are panicked. I mean, and I don't know what Swalwell has in this, but he's evidently got something, because he's not going to go through all that Twitter battle without having something to hide. He is in big trouble, and he's scared. He can just tell. So anyway, I just wanted to point those out to you. Okay, now I know some of you aren't fans of Bongino, but he really did a very good job this particular episode. Tech tyrants declare war on Trump. But there's a clip here that I want you to listen to, because he talks about the thing with the executive order that we're going to go over in just a minute. And he puts a little different spin on it than what you've probably heard, because it really, if you look at it, it's not so much about free speech. It is in some ways, but it's more about something else. And especially with these companies, their violation isn't a free speech violation. It is more of a violation of this platform versus publisher, but it's also an FEC violation, a Federal Election Commission violation. So listen to what he has to say here.
Now, I'm not going to fall into this trap. It's not an all-out assault on free speech. Don't fall into that trap. You may say, Dan, what do you mean? No. Don't. That's not what this is about. Twitter is a private company. The fact that it's Twitter is public in the stock market does not mean it's not a private company in this. We're talking about private versus government owned, not private versus public in the sense of stock ownership. It's not a free speech issue. That would be like saying my website, Bongino.com or Bongino Report, you have to put up whatever lefty said. I don't. It's my site. I put up on Bongino Report. That's our alternative to the liberal Drudge Report. We put up what we want. That's not what this is about. Twitter is claiming, now unlike we claim at, say, Bongino.com, if we write an article at Bongino.com, we know to be false, and we put it up anyway, we can be sued because we're not claiming to be a platform. Twitter, we're a publisher. Twitter is claiming to be a platform, and it clearly is not. But showing you how ridiculous and how stupid this move by Twitter was. I'm telling you, they have no idea the Pandora's box they opened. Because I'm going to suggest, now you may say, well, Dan, if it's not really a free speech issue, it's a platform issue, which it is. It's not free speech. Twitter is not the government. They can write what they want. Then what is it? Well, there are two issues. I just addressed the platform versus publisher. They're clearly a publisher now and deserve no platform protections. None. That's clear. And Facebook should be next. But secondly, where's the FEC on this? The Federal Election Commission. No, I'm dead serious. I've run for office before, and the rules about what they call in-kind donations are very strict. Ironically, when I met Joe was produced a morning show, very popular morning show in Boulder. I met Joe years ago, 10 years ago. And Joe came out and said, hey, man, I love the first time I'm meeting him. I had heard him on the air. He used to do characters, but I'd never met him in person. So I come in, true story. I do this in-station hit. Joe comes out and says, hey, man, love your style. I'd like to take some. Joe takes pictures, too. He's a very talented guy, very artisty, Artistic, yeah. I should say. Precision matters.
Yeah, thank you.
And I said, hey, thanks, man. I mean, we never connected on that front because I had a photographer at the time. But if Joe were to do that and take pictures for my campaign, I have to declare that as what they call an in-kind donation. In other words, Joe gave me a cash value service that he used to get paid for, photography. He can't just give it to me for free. I have to declare it as an in-kind donation. It's to prevent politicians and other people from rigging campaigns by, say, giving them free office space and hundreds of thousands of dollars of free stuff and not having to declare it. You have to declare it as not a cash, but an in-kind donation. Where's the FEC on this? Please tell me with a straight face how this is not an in-kind donation to the Joe Biden campaign. A uniparty fact check on one party only so far, it's all we've seen, on a presidential candidate. He's still a candidate, Donald Trump, even though he's the president of the United States. On one candidate, a fact check designed to hit him and designed to hit him using biased outlets like CNN and NBC. And their premise isn't even true, that mail-in fraud is basically non-existent. Please tell me again how that's not an in-kind campaign donation to the Joe Biden campaign. I'd love to hear it. Where is the FEC on this? Pull their platform protections immediately. Immediately. And secondly, an FEC investigation should be opened up immediately as to who in the company decided to make an in-kind donation to another politician, Joe Biden, by fact-checking his opponent on baseless nonsense.
So I thought that was really interesting how he put that, because he's right. That's what it is. And it's not so much that they are stopping our free speech, because they are companies that are private companies, but they also are this Section 230 thing. And the Section 230 gives them a lot of leeway as long as they follow those rules. And if they are picking one party over another, then they're going to have to address this whole election thing, because they would be providing some kind of service for people. And when they're going against Trump and not going against Biden equally, then they're actually providing some service to the Democrat National Committee. And if that's going to be the case, there could be an election violation there. So, wanted to share that with you, because when you see this, then you'll understand. Now, this is an executive order on preventing online censorship. This is the order that President Trump signed this afternoon. And when I'm recording this, of course, on Thursday. But this basically goes through, and it's a lot of what I said I thought it was going to be, that this Section 230 gives an immunity to these different platforms, because they wanted to allow for free speech platforms, so people could go there and they could express opinions and have the freedom of speech to discuss various political ideas, and not just political, but different ideas. That's really why the Section 230 was created back then, so they would have the freedom to be able to have a platform and not get sued for all the comments that were being posted on it. So as long as they just provided the platform, and, you know, you could post and I could post and everyone could make our own posts or upload a video or, you know, tweet something or whatever the case is, that would be protected. And like YouTube or Facebook or Twitter couldn't be sued because of something that I put on there or because of something someone else put on there. So that was a very strong protection. The problem is, the requirement that goes along with that is that they don't take sides and they don't censor what kind of stuff is being put on there, except, you know, and I'm not talking about illegal stuff or things like that. I'm not talking about that kind of speech, but I'm talking about just saying, well, I don't like this content, so we're not going to let that on there. Like one of my videos that is locked right now, because I didn't change it. And, you know, they told me that if I didn't change it, it would remain locked. I'm the only person that can see it. Nobody else can. Yeah, because I said a name I wasn't supposed to say. Yeah, it was back then. But it's still locked. I still can't get it unlocked unless I change it. And I'm not going to do that. That's still happening. So yes, there is censorship. And the only reason is because I said a name that people didn't like that I said. And it shouldn't be that way. And I know that Facebook, I don't care what Mark Zuckerberg said. I don't care. Because it's censoring all kinds of stuff. I know, because it's doing it to me. I saw one just the other day from a friend of mine. They had posted about homeschooling. They fact-checked her post about homeschooling. So it's like, really, just overreach. And so I really think that this is an important thing. And pretty much, I'll just kind of summarize it for you, because I read through the draft. I haven't read through the official one all the way yet. But it just basically says that if you're going to have the Section 230, you're going to have to make sure that you're actually abiding by the rules so that you are a platform instead of a publisher. Publishers get to pick and choose. Think about, when newspapers publish something, or a magazine or a website, they publish things. They pick and choose what's going to be on their site or in their newspaper or their magazine. And they get to alter the content somewhat if they want to. And that's really what a publisher does. So publishers, since they get to pick and choose, can be sued for that content because they get to pick. And if they chose it, then yes, they could be liable for it. But if you're a platform, again, anybody can post on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. That means that they are not held responsible. The companies cannot be held responsible for the people. But if they're going to cross over and they want to play both sides, they can't do that. And there have been times where some of these companies have argued in court cases, and there'd be like 2 different court cases going on. And in one court case, they're arguing that they are a publisher, and in the other one, they're a platform. So they don't even want to say they're one or the other. They're going to have to. They're going to have to decide which they're going to be. And also he mentioned that there's some government funding, like advertising dollars and things, that they're not going to give to any platform that stifles free speech or does any of this. So fact checking, I don't think they're going to be able to do that. That's going to pop them out of the platform area and into the publisher area. So if they want to give up their, immunity, that's fine. But they're going to have to make a decision. It's going to be very interesting to see which way it goes. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to sue on this. I know this is what they do. But I really do think that, especially the version that I read, it sounded like it was in pretty good shape, that they really wouldn't be able to do much about it, because all it does is it says, we're going to enforce what this says, what this Section 230 says. And if you're going to abide by that, then that's fine. But if you're not going to abide by it, then you're not going to get the benefit. So I really think he did a good job with this. They did have a press conference, and he had Barr speak on it too, which that was very interesting. So I just wanted to give you the actual order so you can read it yourself. The links will be down below just like usual. And now for a little bit of other weird stuff. And so I saw this and I thought, oh, what are you going to do that somebody might slap you or laugh at? Well, here it is. And all I can say is, when I crocheted mine, doggone it, I forgot that I should have used that stitch right there, because that would have been so much better. Because some of the stores that I go into that are up in Pete Buttigieg's city, you have to wear masks in them. I mean, all of them you have to wear masks. They have a Democrat mayor now who is, in the power hungry mode. And so this would be ideal. I did crochet one because I wanted to kind of make that statement, but mine was a little tighter woven. So, oh, gee, I wish I'd have thought of that. Anyway, that also made me think of this. Okay, folks, this is legit. I really didn't think it was at first, but yes, she's wearing an actual crocheted mask, and she's an advocate. I mean, this is Alyssa Milano, in case you didn't recognize her. She is this big advocate for masks, and she keeps saying it over and over. And this is her mask. I mean, really, when I saw it, I thought, she crocheted, and she did it for serious reasons. She's actually thinking this is going to protect her. This is not going to protect her much at all. Oh, or it's not going to protect people around her. Not at all. In fact, probably out of all of these, this one would probably be the best choice, because see, it has a bridge on his nose, a piece of metal up here that holds it down. Because if you've got gaps anywhere, it's not going to do you any good. So yes, this is the crazy woman. This is what she has to say. I just thought that was something else. When I did mine, I did it as a joke. I really did, because I thought, if they're going to make me wear a mask, then I'm going to crochet one. It doesn't say what kind of mask I have to wear. It just says I have to wear a mask. So Like I said, I did mine as a joke, and I'm real sure this person did hers as a joke. I just think that's brilliant. So, this, not a joke. She's serious. And that's what makes me laugh all the more. Oh, but anyway, that's the humor for today. Then I wanted to just give you this link. I'm not going to say much about it because if I do, they're not going to like it. So, yeah, this is a Project Veritas that you might want to check out because, Project Veritas is coming out with some good stuff in the near future. So keep up with them because they got a lot of stuff going on. Things are not always as we see them. But check this out. Now, this is Kristen Clark, who is a lawyer for the Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Can you guess what color she votes? Yeah. Anyway, we just sued Kentucky to block their discriminatory voter ID law and to ensure access to vote by mail in the November election. All voters deserve access to the ballot box amid the pandemic. And yeah, she's working with the ACLU. Here's the document if you want to see it. And this is the complaint, that you can't have voter ID. But the Supreme Court has already ruled, if I remember correctly, that it is okay to have voter ID. Indiana has one, and it did go to the Supreme Court, I believe. And it was ruled that it was perfectly constitutional. I don't understand this whole thing where they're talking about saying that people don't have access to vote if, voter ID law is hard on them. I got news for you. People need to have IDs these days. Even poor people have to have them. Because if you try to go and get any food stamps or any government help of any kind, if you need to do unemployment, you're going to have some kind of ID. And I don't understand. You have to show it for almost everything. So why would people not have it? Why would it be a hardship? And I know in Indiana that if you don't have the money to get one, you can go into the license branch and you can get one for free. A government ID, you can get it because that was part of the law. The voter ID law included that. And I believe in every state that has voter ID, that's included in the law. That if you don't have the money to get one, you can get one for free. And so I don't understand what they're complaining about. I'll tell you what, all of these poor people that they think they're being champions for have used a government ID to get some kind of federal aid. I will almost guarantee you. So I really don't understand how they can keep saying this. And I think, like I said, the Supreme Court has already ruled. I don't know why they would have to rule again. But yes, that's what they're doing while everyone else is trying to help out with the pandemic. Oh no, they are bringing lawsuits for voter ID, and we've got to get that mail-in ballot. Well, I wanted to give you a little update on this. I'm not going to play this for you, but it's about 5, almost 6 minutes long. And this is Pastor Ionescu, who is from the Romanian church in Chicago that I've talked about before. The governor was given a Supreme Court time limit. He had to present his position before 8 o'clock tonight. And it actually came out that, yes, Governor Pritzker changed it. He is allowing the churches to be open. He gave them guidelines. They are not orders. They are guidelines. Now, we'll see how Mayor Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, interprets all this. That's going to be what's interesting. But as for the governor, they took care of it. Yes, churches in Illinois can open now. And there really aren't restrictions. They're recommendations, guidelines, not orders. So I think that is a great step. Yay. But keep praying. It's still not, a done deal. Let's see how it all plays out. But as of now, it looks like a victory. And then someone sent this to me. I don't really know totally what to think of it yet. I don't know anything about this guy. I haven't had a chance to look into him too much. But as I understand it, from what I've read of the complaint, he was a whistleblower and he was targeted by the deep state people. They pretty much tried to destroy his life, and they took him to court on different things. They accused him of various things, just kind of tried to railroad him. So I don't know. That's his claim. I don't know how it's going to work. But the people that he has supposedly in this, he has the defendants of Pelosi, Schiff, Schumer, Nadler, Ocasio-Cortez, and Tlaib, and Omar, and the deep state. That was the one thing that kind of made it odd when I was reading it. It's much more of a legal document than some I've seen that have tried to sue like the whole cabal. But it's still, I don't know. When you see the term the deep state, I don't think that's a good legal term, and I don't think it's something that you can actually have as a defendant, a legitimate defendant in a case. I understand the term, but there are lots of different definitions of that term too. So you have to be careful of what that is. And they have unknown defendants. I think that's really not a good thing to see. And then they have Trump in here too, and the United States of America. So, you can go through and read it. It really is, you got to go through several pages before you get to the actual complaint. But according to him, he worked for a Canadian guy who had some kind of international company and was connected to some kind of software that allowed governments to be able to transfer billions of dollars to other accounts and then kind of wipe the trail. So it was not traceable. So I don't know, again, his claims, and, maybe this is valid. I know it's definitely been sent in. It's been filed. Just because something is filed, though, doesn't mean that it's been acted on or anything like that. So I don't know the status of it at this point. I can try looking, but at least it's better written than some of them I've seen. But he does say he's not a lawyer. He's a self-taught lawyer. So that, to me, is, I don't know. I mean, it's not that you can't do that, but there's so much about the law that you need to have a decent degree, because there's a lot you need to know. And I'm not sure too many people have the tenacity to study it on their own without having some more traditional instruction on it. So anyway, this, like I said, you can go through, you can read this, and he just pretty much claims that they destroyed his life, which I'm not putting it past him at all. We know what they did to Flynn, and we know that they're capable of doing that. But will this go anywhere? I don't know. And I'm not saying, yay, Pelosi's been, sued. Yeah, she's probably been sued by a lot of people. So just wanted to leave that with you. And then the last thing is, I said that Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg said, Twitter should not have censored that. They should not have put a fact check on Trump's tweet. What's he talking about? Because they're fact checking stuff on Facebook all the time. Check out what they fact checked here and found out that it's false information. Yeah, the Bill of Rights. It's false information. This post has been reviewed by independent fact checkers. Who in the world fact-checked this and said it's false information? That's just, no words. That's about it. So anyway, that's what I want to leave you with, I guess. Not very happy thing to leave you with, but just go back and remember that when you're feeling blue, remember this. Oh, that's enough to make you laugh, right? Again, words fail me, because she obviously is clueless that is not going to help her out much. It's not going to help anybody else out. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.